You can't trust investors with just 6 months of great returns. If you remember Kathy Wood in early 2021, she was hailed as God's gift to investing, and her returns were pretty good. But fast forward to today, and her fund ARK is actually underperforming the S&P 500 by quite a bit. This is why you've got to zoom out, because strong investors don't just ride a wave of hype, they build their track record over decades based on the fundamentals. And that idea goes way beyond just investing. It's a framework for success in life. And one of the key principles there is knowing when to think fast and knowing when to think slow. But I love celebrating bursts of success. I think it's awesome when people make tons of money, whether that's in crypto or meme stock or when influencers go viral. But if we zoom in too closely, it's easy to forget the bigger picture. Only chasing fast wins sets you up for long-term failure because you're building on hype instead of fundamental principles. And I think we can see this with the number of people that go broke after being in the NFL or the NBA or any of these professional leagues. Their wealth is built on hype, but they don't have the principles of wealth management to be successful. And I've seen it firsthand, not just in professional sports, but I have friends who are trading 50x leverage crypto. They're up thousands of dollars one day, and then they start over the next. And this is exciting, but it's also gambling with your future. And I've lived this too, because there were times I went all in on earning as much money as I could, as fast as I could, by pouring money into things that I probably shouldn't have. And if you're new to the channel, we're going to go through a quick list of all the stuff I've tried. So house hacking, YouTube, hiring editors rather than doing it myself, financial coaching, drop shipping, blogging, newsletters, Amazon FBA, literally everything that you can think of, I've tried. And I treated all of these as sprints so I could see what would take off and then stop if it wasn't working. And that creates opportunity, but without structure, without a long-term vision, it collapses. And then you waste all that time and effort and money that you put into it. Now, on the flip side, I've also built businesses around the fundamentals that are slow. So buy and hold real estate is one of my favorite. Buy and holding Bitcoin and Ethereum, that's not really a business, but I have made a lot of money doing that. Index funds are another one. If you're new to the channel, I talk about index funds all the time. And these are strategies that I know are going to take decades in order for me to reach my goals and in order to pay off. But they build wealth brick by brick. And this slow approach builds sustainability. And that's why I think it's important that we start to balance. So you have the fast things and the slow things, and you work on them in parallel. I think our career is a good example of this. I push my salary up as much as I can. I chase promotions just to earn more today. So that's a short-term solution. But I'm able to pour that money into index funds, crypto, and all of these other long-term stable investments. Now, this is a mix because it gives me momentum today, but it allows me to take advantage of compounding later. Goal setting follows the same principles. One of my big long-term goals that I've had since I got out of college is to hit $1 million net worth. And that's the slow vision. But to get there, I set short-term goals that keep me moving. So right now, I'm working towards $100,000 in my taxable brokerage account, and I'm at $68,000-ish, depending on the time of day. And within the next year, barring any huge economic collapse, I'll probably hit $100,000. And that's a near-term milestone, but it keeps me motivated and builds momentum towards my larger objectives. Now, here's the danger. If we never learn to balance these two, the sprints that I talked about earlier never actually link together. And then one day you wake up, you're old, and you have nothing built out, and you've missed years of compounding. That window for financial freedom narrows, and those risks that felt smart when you were in your 20s and 30s feel reckless when you're in your 40s and 50s. And I've seen people dive headfirst into MLMs and startups and businesses without any safety nets. They burn the boats and go all in. And it sounds so good when we hear about people doing this on the internet, but that survivorship bias makes us think it's the only way when suddenly at some point they realize it's not working and they don't know what to do. Now, the reality is that most business ventures fail. That's just a cold, hard fact. And without a plan B or some sort of foundation, those people are left with nothing to fall back on. And I found myself making this mistake early on in my investment career because I tried to go all in on real estate wholesaling. And if you ask my wife about this, she will roll her eyes because it did not work out well. I already had a couple of long term rentals, buy and hold, and I wanted to fast track money. I kept seeing all these videos online about how you can make $10,000 a month or more, or 20,000 or 30,000 or $40,000 a month on wholesaling. And I found myself getting roped into that. I made some poor financial decisions. I ended up spending close to $30,000, I think, between sending out post mailers, having people answer phones, trying to set up all of these systems for something that hadn't proven it could work for me. And none of it panned out. I literally spent all that money. That capital is gone. And if I'd invested it the slow way, which is in index funds in long term crypto, then I would have significantly more money today. Now, that lesson is clear. Short term risk without balance doesn't just fail in the moment. It actually slows down our long term goals. And in some cases, it keeps people from hitting those milestones altogether. And here's the key: being too short sighted leads to collapse in the long term. And that sweet spot is balance. So you need to be balancing the long term foundational principles while you work to build wealth today and tomorrow. And so I'm doing this right now in my own life to create freedom. And I'm curious what you're doing and where you are now. Are you leaning in more to the fast, I want to make money today? Or are you setting your time horizon over the next 20, 30 years or more? I'm curious. Put your answers in the comments. And if you want to see how I balance these every week, how to move faster without sacrificing your future, hit subscribe, because the path to financial freedom and success in life isn't one or the other, it's both. And I'm going to dig into my entrepreneurial journeys, my portfolio, and what you can do in order to make better investment decisions both today and tomorrow. And with that in mind, I look forward to seeing you soon. Peace.